Hey, what's going on everyone? Nick here. I'm excited to get into this video with you. This is module 8. We're going to be talking about an introduction to Facebook ads. There's a lot of information to cover in this video. Facebook ads are really the magic of what we're doing, if you want to call it that. If there was a secret sauce to this business model, it's definitely Facebook ads, because if you don't understand Facebook ads, if you don't understand how to properly create an ad, how to optimize an ad, how to target for an ad, how to read your data, how to scale, all these different parts that go into Facebook advertising, then it doesn't matter if you pick the best products. It doesn't matter if you have a beautiful store, right? Because this is where we're actually making our money. This is where we get our return on investment. And this is also where people have the biggest skepticism. People have the biggest fear going into with Facebook ads, because they don't understand it, and so they feel like they're just throwing money into an abyss and praying and hoping for a result. And so what my intention here really is to make you a savvy marketer who understands the Facebook ads platform, the different ways that you can use it, and how to really build your ads for success. Read the data, and then of course scale. So there's definitely going to be several parts to this. Anybody who is familiar with Facebook ads and who's been doing this even for a little bit knows that there's a lot that goes into it. All right, and it's not difficult to learn, okay, because the process is the process. All right, and it just requires a very progressive attitude that you're just going to jump in and you're going to learn and you're going to test things, sometimes without knowing the answer right away, to figure out the answer. But at the same time, it's not all going to be able to fit into this video, right? There's different parts to it. And of course, since I'm doing this all live with a store that I'm building from scratch, you know, there's different progressions to it as we get going. So this first video is really meant to be an introduction. For some of you out there that may be more advanced in this and already be very familiar and have run a lot of ads and had success, a lot of this may be repeat for you. But there's also going to be some fresh perspectives, I think, in here, because I'm going to talk about my theory and my strategy in getting started. All right, I think that there's different phases to Facebook advertising, all right? And the first phase is, of course, really the testing and getting sales phase with any product, all right? You just get better at it. It gets more routine for you, but the phases are really going to be the same, in my opinion, okay? And so we're going to get into the more advanced stuff, but we're going to start and we're going to build our way into it. If you're brand new to Facebook advertising and you've never seen any of this before, by the end of this video, you're going to understand. I'm going to walk through everything, and we're going to start with your business manager, all right? So this is a new account that I have created. If you are business.facebook.com. If you're familiar with this already, then you know you've already come here and you've already signed up for an ads account. You can have multiple ads account under the same primary account, which is basically your email address. This is my primary account here, Marketing with Nick, and I have a few different accounts within that. But if you haven't done it yet, you need to go to business.facebook.com and get signed up. All right, I'm not going to go through that process with you because they have an entire FAQ section and guides and tutorials and help and support and everything that you need. All right, so you can go through the information yourself by going to business.facebook.com and getting signed up. It's completely free, and then you have to connect a payment account and everything like that. And once you've gotten to that point, then you will be here where I am with a blank screen. You can see I haven't run any ads in the past. This is brand new. And so the first step that we want to do, and really where the entire conversation in Facebook advertising begins, is with your Facebook pixel, okay? So your Facebook pixel is basically, for those unfamiliar with the pixel, we don't need to get too technical here. All you need to know is that the pixel is a tracking code that Facebook has that you place onto your website, which allows you to run ads and track your results, all right? And that's how we get really scientific about what we're doing, and we make sure we're getting great return on our investment for the money that we're spending, because Facebook is able to track everything that happens on your website by installing this pixel code. All right. First thing you need to do though is actually create your pixel. So if it's a brand new account, you haven't created a pixel yet, you'll want to come up here to your menu, go over here to Assets and Pixels, and you'll get something like this. All right. Don't worry about this. As it says old, we're not using that. Okay. So we're in our Facebook pixel. First thing we want to do is actually create the pixel. You can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to name it my store's name, Bolden Socials Pixel. As a matter of fact, I want to change mine actually to that. I like that better. All right, so that's my pixel, and now here's my pixel ID. So this is the number that you need right here. All right, when it comes to installing your pixel, all right, this is my little notes section here to show you what we're going over. When it comes to installing your pixel, there's a few different ways to do it. All right, number one is a newer thing by Shopify, which is Shopify Integration, and you can do that by coming to it's in your preferences. Okay, online store preferences. All right, and that's right here. If you wanted to go that route, it's completely free, which is the advantage, and it's like right in Shopify. So if you wanted to go that route, you would just copy this number right here, that's your pixel ID, and you would put it in, okay? Now, I'm going to warn you that I have tested this myself on my most previous store, and the tracking was awful, okay? When it comes to tracking a Facebook pixel, not all methods are equal, all right? There's a few different ways to do it. As you see right here in the document that I created, you can do Shopify Integration as one of them. There's a way that you can do custom HTML, which I'm not really going to talk about because I don't think it's necessary, but custom HTML basically is you code it yourself, all right? And there you can find guides out there to do that simply by, Googling it or YouTubing it or something like that. I believe the best way is to get an app. All right, and apps cost money, but I think they're worth it. And I believe this after testing a few different things. All right, the problem with putting it right into your HTML is that you can mess things up that way, or you can forget. You can change your theme, and you got to do it again, and it can be a real pain. All right. The problem with doing it this way is that your tracking is going to be way off. All right. That's, there may be other stories out there of people that have tracked well. Most of the stories I've heard is that the tracking is way off, and that could be because it's still a newer function for Shopify. Maybe they'll get that fixed, but it's really important. If your tracking's off, it's going to be very difficult for you to understand how much money you're putting in to how much money you're getting out. All right, so if you have several products running on your store with Facebook ads and you're spending $10 a day on all of them, and you're getting sales on your store, but you don't know where your sales are coming from, then you're not going to be able to know which ads are performing well, and thereby know which ads should be getting more money spent or which ads should be getting less money spent. Okay, so that's why your tracking is so important, and why going with this Shopify integration here can be very detrimental, because I tried it and it was a headache to try and track my sales, all right? And so that can make things difficult for you running your business. I've already mentioned in the apps video that Pixel Perfect is what I'm going to use, all right? When you come to the Shopify App Store, if you type in Pixel, you'll probably see a few that come up. Pixels, Trackify. I've never heard of Pixel Conversion Pro. But I have heard of Pixel Perfect. It comes highly recommended. It has 5-star reviews, as we can see here if we click on it. So it is $15 a month, but in my opinion, it's worth it. All right, and think about it like this: if you get a store that's even making $5,000 a month at the low end, and $2,000 of that is profit for you, then $15 a month to have completely integrated tracking and be able to know where your money should be going and understand your business and your return on investment, you have to look at it from that perspective. All right, $15 a month is not going to hurt you when you're making thousands of dollars and even hundreds of dollars in profit. All right, it's definitely worth it. Another great one that you can use is Shopify. However, Shopify raised their price, and personally, I think this is overpriced. Just me personally. It's a great app, as you can see. It also has 5 stars. The guy who created this, who runs this Red Target, Thomas Barkey, is like a pixel genius, you know. So he's definitely a smart dude. You get access to his group, and you know he shares a lot of information in there. And he's probably one of the biggest hitters out there when it comes to Shopify as far as the numbers he's doing. But in my opinion, I just think that the price is a little bit premium for what I'm looking for, so I'm not personally going to go with Shopify, all right? Because I'm not looking for all the extras that probably come with Shopify, you know? So I'm just going to be going with Pixel Perfect, all right? But do your own research and pick whichever one you think is good for you. And then opening this up, it's going to be pretty simple here. I didn't enter a valid Pixel ID yet, so that's what I want to do. So that's my Pixel ID. I do want to include my product ID. That's when I'm not going to do this. Wait. Advanced matching will send customers' personal details to Facebook. No, that sounds a little over the top. I'm not worried about niche. Yeah, we'll enable that. Because we have a general store, we have multiple niches. Auto detect values to pass, that's fine. I don't have an Ajax cart. I'm not worried about my Google category right now. Oh, it's required. Okay. Give me a second to scroll through here. And it's kind of annoying they make you pick a Google category, but I don't think it really matters much unless you're going to be advertising on Google, which is definitely a very valid way to advertise your stuff. But okay, for now I'm just going to go with I'm going to go with this because I think that what this does is it's just tagging by the product. Okay, so it turned everything off. And then you got to select a category. Alright, this is a little annoying, but apparel and accessories is what I'm going to go with. Alright, so everything's good and all set up, and that's everything that we really need to worry about for now, okay? Coming back here, you can click out of this because our pixel has been installed already. It'll say no activity yet, but that's because we haven't been running any traffic yet. So it's not going to say that you have any activity until you start running some traffic, all right? So that's everything really for that. Now, when it comes to your pixel is what is going to optimize everything for the ads that you're running. All right. In a second here, we're going to look at the different types of ads and just do an introduction into what types of advertising are available to you on Facebook and what we really use when we're doing e-commerce. And what you need to understand about the pixel is that this is the intelligence behind everything we do. All right, we don't really need to know how it works, except I am going to dispel a few myths that are out there. Number one, there's a myth that because we're running a general store, if we have one pixel, it's not going to be able to optimize for all the different niches that we're advertising to. That's a myth, and that's completely untrue. All right, your pixel is very smart. Your pixel is basically artificial intelligence at the highest level. I don't know how Facebook has engineered it to do what it does, but it knows what it's doing, and it can optimize for as many different niches as you're going to run products to. I think where the myth comes into play is that people don't realize your pixel will develop from the beginning based on how you advertise. All right, so from the very start, when you start advertising, your pixel will be developing based on what you're doing. So if you are only advertising in one niche from the very beginning, your pixel is going to get very optimized for that one niche. But if you're advertising in different niches as you go along, your pixel is going to get more optimized in general for all those different niches. All right. But no matter what, there's just it should be common sense, but the more advanced your pixel gets, the more conversions it has, sales, clicks, add to carts, and different types of conversion events that are out there, then the more it's going to learn and be able to optimize for all the different niches that you're going into. But you need to understand that it does learn based on how you advertise and how you develop. All right, it has an intelligence, basically. But it does not matter how many niches you have in your store. I think where the myth comes from is that if you've been advertising in your general store, say you have 2 successful niches that you've been advertising to for a long time, and then you try a brand new niche and it doesn't perform as well on that brand new niche, well, it's because you have to build it back up. Your pixel has been trained to go after those 2 niches, and now you're adding a new one. All right, so that's a myth that's out there. And another myth is that you have to spend a lot of money in order for your pixel to get optimized. All right. I think this is just something that the big dogs and the gurus out there like to say to make people feel like they're superior, but that's just not true at all. And I'm telling you that from experience of having made hundreds of thousands of dollars by not spending, just lots and lots of money. Okay. I don't know why people say that you have to spend like hundreds of dollars in a niche before it gets optimized. That may be true that it will be more optimized once you've spent hundreds of dollars, but it does not mean that you can't have success from the very beginning. All right, that's just not true. All right, and I know that from experience. Okay, so getting those myths out of the way, the last thing that I would like to say is that the pixel is your friend. All right, a lot of people out there act like the pixel is just this headache and Facebook is ripping them off or whatever, but the pixel is your friend. Now, Facebook does update their algorithm a lot. It's constantly a rolling platform. It's doing updates and making changes, but the pixel in general and Facebook's whole intention is for you to be able to make money. Okay, so you make money, they make money, and that's the way that the cycle keeps rolling. So you just want to let Facebook do the heavy lifting for you when it comes to these ads that we're doing. And you do that by understanding the different types of ads that you can run and then learning how to target effectively. All right, because basically, again, for the newcomers to this, everybody on Facebook has a profile, right? Everybody has things that they have done, that they've liked, pages they've liked, comments, likes, things that Facebook tracks all of it. All right, Facebook tracks everybody's activity, and then you can target people based on that activity. All right, so when it comes to Facebook advertising, it's really just about understanding the targeting and understanding how to create the ads to let Facebook do the work for you. All right, you don't need to overcomplicate it. This can actually be a very simple process once you understand how all of it works. But a lot of people try to overcomplicate it, and then they end up losing money, or they don't know what they're looking for. They don't know how to actually read the data that they're looking at, and so they feel like they're wasting money. But in reality, it's just a matter of understanding the system and then learning the numbers you should be looking for to monitor your ads and judge their performance, okay? And when you can understand that, this becomes a very magical thing where basically you put money into Facebook and you make sales, all right, without having to ever talk to anybody or anything, okay? And you're going to see that as we go. So let's start getting into some practical stuff here, all right? And again, this is, this is for really starting with the basics. You can see we're going to get into the Facebook advertising explained is kind of what I've been talking about, and now I'm going to show you different campaign types, and then we're going to get into targeting. So when you're getting ready to run an ad, you can go through and look at all this stuff on your own. It's all pretty self-explanatory. Audiences and product catalogs, this is all advanced stuff we're not going to get into for a while because it's not necessary to get started. Measure and report is stuff that we'll talk about once we start running some ads. And then in here is where we're going to be focusing our attention on here. Audience insights we're going to be looking at, and then the ads manager as well, so that we can actually look at, ads manager is basically where you're running everything, okay? So let's start by going there. All right, so of course, when you want to create an ad, what you're going to do is you're going to come in here to create ad. And then you're going to see that Facebook breaks it down into 3 parts. All right, first is your campaign, and your campaign is where you choose your marketing objective. All right, so the very first thing that I want to mention is that when I'm doing my ads, I am structuring it at the campaign level by the objective. All right, so here are the different types of objectives. Facebook puts them in the categories. We're not really going to be talking about brand awareness or local awareness. Everything has a little information here so you can see what Facebook's definition is. But the only ones that are really relevant in e-commerce when you're starting out are going to be website clicks, engagement, and website conversions. All right. Now, really, you don't need to pay too much attention to these top categories here because I'm going to explain the difference here. And I think the best way to do this is to bring up an example. So let me go to Facebook, and we're going to look at my news feeds, and we're going to look at an ad right here. Now, this is not an e-com. Actually, let's look at an e-commerce ad. Just so you know, in case you were ever wondering, you can go into the search Facebook graph function here and search anything you want. So let's say we want to look at cat products that are out there. So I'm going to type in the word cat and here. Just 2 keywords that I think are going to bring up posts. All right, I'm going to look at photo posts. And I'm going to look for one that looks like it's e-commerce. All right, so maybe that wasn't it. Let's go here and say cat shirt. And again, photo post. All right, so here's an example of a cat shirt. All right, now as you can see on here, there's likes and there's comments and there's shares. All right, that's called engagement. Likes, comments, and shares are called engagement. So when you want to run an ad and you want to optimize to get likes, comments, and shares on it, then this is the objective that you choose. It's called page post engagement, or PPE. All right, this is very useful in our advertising arsenal because this is how you get social proof onto an ad. All right, this is how you get all these, when people see likes and shares and comments, they know that it kind of creates that viral type of deal going on where more people are going to like it and comment and share the more they see other people liking and commenting and share. Of course, assuming that you have a good design and a cool, whatever, a cool message that people like. All right, so page post engagement is a campaign where we're optimizing our ad to get likes, comments, and shares. All right, that's a specific optimization where Facebook is going to then go out. They're going to take your ad like this right here. They're going to take this t-shirt that you put up on an ad, and they're going to show it to the people most likely to like, comment, and share that ad. All right, that's what this means here. So if you have an audience of, say, 100,000 people, just as an example, and you select the engagement, then there may be, out of that 100,000 people, maybe 40,000 of them are going to fall into this category of most likely to engage with that ad, and that's going to be the 40,000 that Facebook shows to. All right, you want to remember that whenever you're looking at an audience size, you want to think of it as a pie. All right, and different slices of that pie are going to be different sections of who Facebook can show. So if you come over here to website clicks, then that's a different objective, where Facebook's objective is going to be to actually show your ad to people most likely to click on your link. So you see this link right here. If you click on this, it's going to take you to their website, sunfrog.com, where you can buy this shirt. All right, so if you create an ad and you optimize for website clicks, then Facebook is going to show that ad to people most likely to click on this link and go to your shirt, or wherever it is, your website, wherever that link leads, okay? And then finally is website conversions. Finally, out of the three that we really use. Website conversions is really awesome. It's a newer version of what Facebook offers within like the last year or so. And basically what this allows you to do is choose a conversion event that Facebook recognizes, and Facebook will then go show your ad to people most likely to convert for that event. All right, that may be a little confusing if you've never heard that before. So when it comes to conversion events, there's three main ones we're going to talk about. There's view content, add to cart, and purchase. All right. These are all considered conversion events. So if you choose a conversion ad, then Facebook is going to ask you what conversion event you want to optimize for. And so each one of these has its own kind of school of thought behind it. If you optimize for view content, that's almost like website clicks. All right, it's the easiest to get. Facebook is just going to optimize for people most likely to click and view content. All right. If you optimize for add to cart, Facebook is going to optimize for people most likely to not only click and view content, but also add that product to their cart, which is different than purchase, because not everybody who adds to cart is going to purchase. These build on each other, so as you can see, they're a little bit more difficult to get each time. So if you optimize for purchase, Facebook is going to optimize for people most likely to not only view content and add to cart, but also to complete purchase. All right, so these are all conversion events. And as you can probably guess, view content is the easiest to optimize for, because it's not very difficult to get people to click on a link. All right, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy, and that's important to understand and remember, because a lot of people come into Facebook advertising, and what seems to make sense by common sense is, well, I want people to go to my website and buy, so I'm going to do a website clicks ad. All right, and yes, that would make sense in all reality, but the truth is that just because people click does not mean they're going to buy. Clicking does show a little bit of buying intent because they're interested enough to actually click the link and view the product. However, a lot of people will click and not purchase. So it's not really, personally, I don't like website clicks because it's the most expensive and it's not really optimizing for anything. Just getting people to click your link is only half the battle. Really, what happens after the click is the most important thing. Our ads are designed to get people to click, but we want to then make sure they actually follow through and purchase. That's where we make our money. That's what it's really all about. So a conversion ad is usually much better than a clicks to website ad, in my experience. And then it comes down to, well, do you want to optimize for add to cart or purchase? And a lot of people think, well, you should have to optimize for purchase, right? Because that's what I want people to do is purchase. But what you have to realize is that when you're starting out and you're running an ad, Facebook has no idea who's going to purchase in all reality. Yes, you're going to optimize for that, and so they're going to spend their time going out there and testing and hitting all these random people and finding, eventually who clicks and who adds to cart and then who purchases so that they can narrow it down and start building a buyer profile, and then they know better who to go after. But in the beginning, they have no idea. So optimizing for purchase right away usually doesn't do you very good unless you already have a lot of data and a lot of conversions on your pixel, okay? I always start with optimizing for add to cart, all right? Because add to cart is easier than purchase, but it also shows buying intent, all right? A lot of people who add to cart are going to purchase, of course. Otherwise, why would they add to cart? They're not just adding it to the cart for fun. There's just reasons that some people will add to cart and then abandon. But we have remarketing methods in that email series in our apps that we have set up to be able to try to get that purchase back. All right, we're going to talk about more of this in the future, but that's just kind of a rundown on the different types of campaign objectives that you can do when you're setting up a Facebook ad. All right, before we get into targeting though, because this is really, it's two steps. Of course, targeting is very important, but before we even get into targeting, you have to choose your campaign and your objective, right? So I want to talk a little bit more about this. Take a break here and drink some water. I want to explain to you my theory, or the beginning of my theory, in how I test all of my ads out, now that you understand the different objectives, all right? We're going to come back to this part up here. I call my theory, my strategy, whatever you want to call it, I call it my micro adset theory, all right? And basically, that's because my theory is start small and work bigger based on previous success when it comes to advertising. And I kill my ads quickly if they're not performing well, and I move on and I test a lot. All right, and that's my micro ad set theory, but I keep my initial budget small so I'm able to control and save money. All right, and I think this works very well for newcomers. Now, it's important to understand before we go any further that this is my theory. This works, and this is based on a lot of my own personal education that I've done and gathered from other sources out there, a lot of testing that I've done from sources out there, and just all kinds of places. But there are other theories out there. There are other things to consider, but this is a great place to get started, and then you should always do your own testing and build, because no two ad accounts are going to act the same. And it's important that you develop your own understanding of everything as you go, because, like I said, your Facebook pixel is constantly going to develop intelligence the more that you advertise, which means you need to be developing intelligence too to understand and most benefit from your pixel. Because the more you understand, the more benefits you can have and the more money you're going to make, because you're just going to get it down to a science for you and what you're doing. All right. So to start here, this is generally what I do, all right? This is a little bit different than what you're going to see out there by a lot of people. If you're brand new to this, then it really doesn't matter, but I'll just put that in there just so you know as well that this is a little bit different. All right, I always start with a PPE campaign, which is what we were looking at here. It's what we were looking at here, the engagement campaign, okay? I always start out with this for post engagement. Okay, I don't I don't want page likes, event responses, or offer claims. I'm not doing those types of campaigns. I start out with post engagement because I want to get people to engage on my post. All right. Now, there's a lot of people out there that say, keep getting lost here. There's a lot of people out there that are going to say, well, a PPE, why do you do that? Because it's not a conversion ad. It's not designed to get sales. However, the truth is that's a myth. You can still get a lot of sales from a PPE campaign. And this is why I start with that campaign always, all right? To prove the product, to get some sales, to get social proof, and to collect data on the pixel. All right, let me explain each one of these points. Prove the product. All right, when you run a page post engagement app or ad, you're going to know very quickly if people like the product or not because they're either going to engage with it or they're not going to engage with it. All right, and a lot of times what happens is if you run a website clicks or you run a conversion ad, you'll get some engagement, but those ads aren't optimized for engagement, so it's going to take longer. All right, if you run a page post engagement, though, that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to go after the people that are most likely to be the ones that are going to like, share, and comment. So you're going to know very quickly if you found the right audience because you're going to either be getting people like, commenting, and sharing it, or you're not. And that's a great way in the beginning to know before spending too much money if you found the right audience. Okay, so that's one of the reasons that it's so beneficial to start with a page, with a post engagement ad, because you're going to be able to prove that you found the right product for that audience very quickly based on the social feedback that you get. All right, of course, get some sales. Don't think, I don't care what anybody else out there says, do not think for 1 second that you don't get sales with this type of ad. You do, and I have, and I've made that, and as a matter of fact, I remember one of the first posts that I made public in a Shopify group was after my first store hit $100,000 in sales. And I hit $100,000 in sales in less than 90 days with my first store. And one of the points that I put in there was that I didn't start using website conversion ads until I already had like 1,500 sales on my store. Like literally the first 1,500 sales on my store were from post engagement ads. All right. So anybody that tells you that you can't get sales from post engagement ads is just, they haven't tried it or they've just not tried it on the right products. All right. Because the truth is, right product, right audience, whether you run a page engagement or you run a post engagement, or you run a website conversion, you'll get sales. Now, don't get it confused. The website conversion ad is the money maker. All right, that's where you get the majority of your sales and you scale and you're able to really start optimizing. But the idea here is that we're able to prove our product, get social proof on it because that's the same, almost the same thing, but social proof is just another way of saying people are sharing it, people are commenting, they're liking. So we do this first, and then when we go to run that conversion ad, there's already some social proof on there, and it looks good, and people are more likely to convert, okay? Because social proof does matter, all right? It does influence people, definitely, for sure. And at the same time, though, we're not just spending money and losing money because we will get sales, all right? So we'll make a profit, or at least we should be breaking even on winning products, okay? That's not to say that every product's going to get sales because that's just the way it is, of course, no matter what type of campaign you run. But, we will be able to get sales and we will make money, all right? And then lastly, you're collecting data for your pixel. This is also done at the website conversion campaign, but it's also done here. So your pixel is still going to collect data on these campaigns as well. And then when you go to launch your conversion ad, you're going to have some data to go off of already. All right. So I'm going to skip here for a second before going into all of this, which is kind of just ways to analyze your PPE ad. All right. I want to skip to 6 here and show that we do run both the post engagement and the website conversion ad. So basically the idea here is we're running these ads to test and do exactly what it says here, prove the product, get some sales, social proof, and collect data. And then when we do find winning campaigns, we know we have a winning audience for that product. And so we're going to come right back and run a website conversion ad to that same exact audience. Same exact audience, all right? That doesn't mean you can't test new audiences as you collect more data, but remember, piece of the pie. If you have 100,000 people that are interested in I Love Dogs, when you target your first one as a PPE campaign, that's only going after a certain slice of that pie, that 100,000 people interested in I Love Dogs. All right, so you're going to want to run a website conversion ad to that same exact audience and hit the other slices of that pie. All right, that are also going to react to this type of campaign, because Facebook groups these people as different people, and it's not competing with yourself when it's two different objectives. A page post engagement ad is a different objective than a website conversion ad, so they're two different objectives, and they're going to target two different sectors of people within the same audience. So it's not competing, and it's something you absolutely want to do every time you find a winning audience, is you want to run that website conversion ad, okay? So now let's take a break from that and look at how this goes in a practical application here. All right, so we've selected our engagement objective, post engagement. You want to name it at the campaign level. So I don't have a product I'm launching right now, so let's just say okay. We're not using custom audiences yet. We're going to go through now the ad set. This is the second stage of your overall campaign, is the ad set. And as you can see here, the ad set is where you define your audience, budget, and schedule. All right. Audience is the big thing here. So we're starting out targeting people in the United States, but this is, again, where you can really target people from any country you want to. All right, but I'm assuming most people here are going to be targeting people in the United States. All right, when I start out with a PPE ad, as you can see here, normally I'll start at the 18 to 54 range. You can go up to 65 if you want, depending on the product, I guess. Some products you're going to have people in this higher age group that are interested. Some products you won't. Most of my products I find are generally, above 54 is not something I really worry about too much. Your largest audience, as you can see here, your largest audience is going to be in that 18 to 54 range. All right. Gender, of course, you can select gender based on the type of product you have. If it's obviously a man or a woman product, then that would make sense there. Languages I never mess with. As far as targeting in the United States, there's no need to mess with it. All right, and then detailed targeting is where you're going to pick your interests. All right, this is where you're defining who you want Facebook to show your ad to. So as an example with what we talked about, and this is where you can just type stuff in and it'll pop up based on what is available for what you're typing in. So if we go to the I Love Dogs, you can see that there's a potential reach of 2.3 million people on this audience. All right. So that's based on everybody in the audience. Right now with our post engagement, we're only going to reach a certain portion of that audience. So if we run this ad and this ad's successful, then we would want to come back and run the same exact audience here with a website conversion ad, and it's going to reach a different portion of that overall 2.3 million person audience. All right, so I hope that makes sense. I just wanted to show you just an example of what I mean. So now we have the targeting here. You can see this is an audience. This is what I mean by an audience, and those campaign objectives are going to hit different parts of that audience. And when you have a big audience like this, or really any size audience, but especially when you have a big audience like this at over 2 million people, then you want to be hitting both parts of that. All right. Now, again, just as a disclaimer, there are people out there that, doing very well that say you should, they only ever run website conversion ads. They don't run anything else. But again, I use this method because I like testing the way that I do it, and it works for me. I find that the post engagement ads work very well, and I don't see any reason not to use them, because that is a portion of the audience that you could completely miss and has a lot of advantages to your ads, if you're only running website conversion ads, okay? So getting back into the theory of what we're doing, we're going to test things generally anywhere from $2 to $5 a day. Usually $5 a day is about the standard people suggest. When I have a lot of ads running, sometimes I'll do $2 a day. It's really the same kind of concept. The only difference is at $2 a day, it's going to take you a little bit longer to get those results. But I don't want you to think that that means, the smaller the budget, the less sales you're going to make, because that's a myth that's out there that's absolutely not true. I have run $2 ad sets before and gotten sales on the first day or the second day with only, a total of $2 or $3 spent. So it's just absolute nonsense to think that you're not going to get sales because of the budget that you have. It's all based on matching the right product to the right audience, all right? Now, of course, bigger budgets are going to get you more money once you start and you have a successful product, but that's called scaling, and that's not this part. This is testing data and getting initial sales, all right? Usually, this is a part where people always want to know, well, how do I look at my ads, and how do I understand, if my ad's a winner, or if I should move on, or if I've been spending too much money, this or that. Again, there's a lot of information here, so we're going to go over some of this, and then I'm going to come back to it and kind of go and wrap it into targeting. But first, I want to go over just some of the theory here of what all of this is and the rules and the guidelines I follow. Because once you know these numbers, they give you a benchmark, and that's important to have a benchmark. All right. Winners will generally have sales in the first $5 to $10. Sometimes sales in the $15 to $20 range. All right. This I am telling you from experience out of running lots and lots of products. All right. People always want to know, and a lot of times it can be difficult, and it was for me as well, getting started, to know how long to let an ad run, because you want to let it run and you want to see if you're getting sales or if people are going to buy. And usually this happens when you think you've got a really clever product. All right, and again, as I've mentioned already previously in this training, you want to separate any emotional attachment from what you're doing and just realize it's all a matter of testing. Most of the people out there that are blowing money, that are saying that they've spent too much money on Facebook ads and they've not had success, are running ads way longer than they should to test. They're testing products that are clearly not winners, and they're testing them too long when they should be killing them and moving on. All right, and that's something that I hope everybody hears loud and clear, because there's a lot of people that have hit me up and messaged me and say, man, I've been spending money and doing this and that. I've been testing, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And my answer is almost always the same. You need to move on. You need to either try a different audience or you need to move on to a new product. All right, most of the time, probably 70% of the time, I would say, that people are not getting sales, it's because they don't have the right product for the right audience. All right, because generally, you don't need to be very clever with your ad copy and your images. I mean, if you have a basic image with basic copy and you put it in front of the right audience, you're probably going to get a sale or two. All right, but most of the time, everything stems from not having the right product, and people just simply for whatever reason, they get attached to it and they don't move on quick enough, and they end up blowing, $30 on a product that they should have cut off at $10. All right, and that's why I say this. Generally, winners, good products that are good matches for the audience, will have a sale within the first $5 to $10. If you don't get a sale within the first $5 to $10, you're probably not going to get a sale within the next $20. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes you won't see your first sale until the first $15 to $20. However, there will always be very good evidence that you should keep that product running past $10. All right, $10 is always my benchmark. If I don't have sales by $10, there needs to be strong evidence that that product is a very good match for that audience for me to keep running it to the $15 to $20 range. And the evidence is right under here. All right. So you're letting it run to optimize. All right. Here's the deal. Here's how let me back up a step and tell you why this works. All right. Because remember, my process is start small. All right. Start with precise interests. I know that I kind of have this. Let me put this up here because that should actually be number 2, right? Start small, work bigger based on success. And when I say start small, we're going to talk about that when we get to targeting, all right? So it's all going to come together for you. But the reason that I'll change these numbers now, of course. All right, change these numbers down to here. So the reason that this idea works for me is because I start with very precise interests when it comes to my targeting. All right, so when you're looking at the ads manager and you're looking at something like 2.3 million people, that's a broad interest. See how all the letters are capital? That's one of the indicators that you can know it's a broad interest because it's capitalized. Precise interests like this are generally not capitalized. Now, this is still a large group of people, but it's still considered a more precise interest than the other one. And that's Facebook's way of showing you that by whether they capitalize or the lower letters in lowercase. But of course, another way to look at it is just looking at the audience size. I mean, this isn't really rocket scientist, okay? Or rocket science. Is the broader the interest, the less relevant some of those people are going to be to your overall objective. So for now, we're talking about I love my dog. So if you have the interest of I love my dog, that big interest that we saw, there was 2.3 million people. Where did it go? Oh, it was I love dogs, huh? I love dogs, this big 6 million interest that is 2.3 million people. Then there are going to be a lot of people in this crowd that are not hardcore dog lovers. For lack of a better term, hardcore may not be the word I'm looking for, but you get it. People that are really passionate. The most passionate people are going to be the ones that like the pages like this. If we come in here and let's just try to find something like this. All right. Now, this is really small. All right, we want more people than that. As you can see, it's too small even for Facebook to really define, but that's a precise interest. 5,800 people like this page, you can be sure that those 5,800 people are very targeted. All right, now the idea is finding a bunch of these. Now, some of these are capitalized as well, so I guess the rule doesn't always apply, but that's why you want to look at the audience size. All right, look at these small audiences. This is only 200,000 people. All right. I heart my dog. 7,000 people. I love dogs. 47,000 people. I love cute dogs. All right. These are all precise interests. Okay. And basically what happens here is the more precise that we start in the beginning, these are the people most likely to buy. All right. That's where you want to test. You want to test your ad set at the most likely to buy when you're starting out. Because if the people most likely to buy aren't going to buy and interact and engage and give you great social proof, then you know you don't have a winner. If the people most likely to buy, the most precise, most passionate people of that entire dog niche, are not the ones that are going to buy, then you might as well not even worry about going after the larger audience interests, because they're not going to be interested if the most passionate people aren't. All right. And you don't need to worry about, well, I'm starting so small, I'm missing out on all those other people. That's where we scale. We get into that later. After we exhaust this audience, we scale into a larger audience. And you can see there's a lot of these precise interests in here for dog lovers. Now, to give you an idea of what's going on here, they are all part of the larger interests like this. Here's the most massive version of that interest. It's just simply called dogs, all right? And it's 338 million people strong. And within the United States, that breaks down, that's worldwide. So when you see those numbers there, these are worldwide numbers. And then when you actually add it in, based on the country you have selected, this number over here, potential reach, will show you how many people in that country are part of that interest. So based on this massive interest here, there's 39 million people in the United States that have shown interest in dogs. But that's a massive number. That's the broadest level, all right? You don't just start there, okay? You start at the most precise level and you work your way up based on success. So if we start here with a product and these 170,000 people react well and purchase, we run that for as long as we want to. All the meanwhile, we're getting social proof on our post, we're getting sales, we're making money, and we're collecting data on our pixel so that when we branch into a larger interest, like I love dogs, we would remove these and we would branch into something like this with 3 million people. Now Facebook has something to go off of in that larger audience. All right, I hope that makes a lot of sense, because so many people don't understand this. And by getting this knowledge now going into it, you're going to be set up for success. All right, it sounds simple when it's explained, but that's really how it is. Like I said, you don't need to overcomplicate this process. You want to start with the most precise group of interests, people most likely to buy the product that you're selling. And then you want to go bigger based on the success. So if this small audience does very, very well, then you're going to branch into a larger audience in a new ad set. All right, not this same ad set. You can have as many ad sets as you want under the same campaign. Okay, we'll talk about that more later. But you would start a new ad set with the larger audience, and you would then test it to that audience. All right, so you're able to continually expand and expand based on the success of the prior ad set. And by doing that every time, you're also collecting more data for your pixel. Remember, I said your pixel is intelligent and it learns as you go. So by doing that every time, like you're starting here, you're making it easy for the pixel. All right, there's only 170,000 people, very passionate. All of these people, all 170,000 of them, are very passionate about dogs, because this is a small group of people. All right, so it's not hard for Facebook. It's just going to start showing it to these people, and it's going to be able to optimize very quickly, as opposed to 2 million people where it really doesn't know, because not all of those people are passionate. All right, but now once you've worked through this 170,000 people, say you work through this and you make, you're able to make 100 sales out of it. Well, now Facebook has been able to build a buyer profile based on the people that purchased, engaged, and clicked on your link and your post, so that they can now go into that larger audience with a predefined definition of who they should be going after. And it's just going to constantly evolve like that. And that's how you can scale into the larger audiences. Okay? Woo! That was some golden information right there. I'm going to take a sip of water here. That is Facebook advertising explained. If you understand that, you're going to do okay at this, because it's not hard to find the interests, and it's not hard to separate the small interests from the large interests. All right. So if you understand that progression, then you're going to be able to do well at this, because you know the theory of how this works. All right. So now coming back into here, you understand why winners can show themselves in the first $5 to $10, because we're not starting with a massive audience. We don't need to spend $50 to optimize and figure out, who's most interested. We're spending $5 to $10 because we're starting with that most passionate, most likely group of people to buy what we are advertising. All right. Now, that does not always mean that you'll see the first sale by $10. All right. And you can still let it run to optimize and hopefully get a sale by $20. $15 hopefully, but by $20 I would say is the max I would ever let something run. However, there needs to be some really strong signs of letting it run. All right. Now, if you're brand new to this, some of this may not make sense because you haven't seen it yet, but I'm just going to go over the information for now to show you, what the signs are, and for the people that do understand this, so that you get some, some value out of this that can help you with your ads immediately. All right. All right. So if you don't have sales by $10, remember, right now we're still just talking about our PPE ad. We haven't even launched a website conversion ad. We're still just testing our PPE ad on our post. Okay. There's something in your ads called your CPC, which is cost per click, and then parentheses link. All right. So remember in here, this is your link. All right. And Facebook, what they will do is when you run an ad and people click on this link, they will come up with a number called your cost per click for that link. So if you spend $5, let's go even easier. If you spend $10 and 10 people click on that link, that's $1 cost per click for your link. All right. That number is very important. Too many people look at the wrong things when it comes to monitoring their data, and we're going to have a whole video on that when we start running ads. But your CPC link is one of the most important stats that you can look at, all right? Because it lets you know the buying intent of your audience, all right? A lot of people look at their ads and they have good engagement, all right? Like this, for example, your engagement, your cost per engagement is your CPE. All right, this is easy. It's not hard to run an ad that gets good cost per engagement. Your cost per engagement should be under 10 cents by the time you get to $5 ad spend. All right, so by the time you've spent $5 on a PPE ad, your cost per engagement, which is your CPE, this is just, remember, it's a stat that you look at. Okay, I know that some of you may not be familiar with it yet, but you'll get to see it. Just know for now that this is a stat and this is a number, and this lets you know if your ad is successful or not. So your CPE should be under 10 cents by the time you've hit $5. If it's not, that means your targeting is incorrect. All right, because that's why this is such a great way to know, because a lot of times with your website conversion ads, your CPE will be a little bit different. Like Facebook will still tell you what your CPE is with a website conversion ad, but a website conversion ad isn't optimized for engagement, so it may not be as low. But when you're running a post engagement ad, then you are optimized for engagement. And this is how you can tell your targeting is correct. Because if people aren't engaging to the level that your CPE, your cost per engagement, is under 10 cents by the time you get to $5 ad spend, then that simply means your targeting is incorrect. All right? Or it could mean your product is wrong, but generally it just means your targeting is incorrect if you are confident you found a good product. All right? If you found a horrible product, then I guess your targeting could be correct and people just don't like it. I mean, it could mean one of either things. It could mean you have a product that people just don't care about, or it means that you could have a good product, but your targeting is incorrect. There's a match that is not happening somewhere on one of those two levels if your CPE is not under 10 cents by the time you get to $5. All right. Now, if you're right on the borderline, it's like 11 cents, 12 cents, then yeah, you want to watch it to like $6 or $7. But again, I'm just telling you, that's just like a magic number that you can know to make sure that your targeting is correct. And within that CPE, so your cost per engagement, so basically anytime somebody likes, comments, or shares your post, that's considered an engagement. Facebook takes the total amount of those engagements and gives you that number. So if you've spent $500 and you've had 500 engagements, basically 500 different people have either liked, commented, or shared on your picture, by the time you get to $5 ad spend, then that means you're at 1 cent cost per engagement, okay? Which is very possible to do when you find the right product for the right audience. All right, so that's how that number is created. And this is how you judge where it should be. All right, the lower the number, obviously the better, but you also want to see shares and comments in there, which is why I have that in there. You don't just want to see likes on a page, because likes are easy to get. When people are commenting like this, love this, want this, those are the types of comments you see. That's perfect for me. I have to have this, must have it. When did they launch this? A while ago. I'm not sure why they must have cut it off for some reason, but this is exactly what you want to see. People commenting like this, or people tagging other people and saying, let's get it, we have to have this, or so. But when people are, those kinds of comments are what you want to see. Shares you want to see, because that means people are taking even an extra step to share it on their timeline, which is awesome. All right, likes are the easiest thing to get. So a post with a lot of likes and no shares and comments is not necessarily, really going to do anything for you. Because remember, in the end, we want sales. Just having a post with a lot of likes may look cool, but it's not making you any money. So shares and comments really let you know you've hit a winner when people are saying this kind of stuff. And when people are sharing it to their timeline as well. All right. Moving on from that, back into the CPC link. Even if you have good cost per engagement, that's 10 cents by $5 ad spend, you got shares and comments, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to make sales. All right. This is just a guideline that lets you know your targeting is correct, that you found a good product for that audience and they like it. All right. You want to look at that feedback, because that's your best way to know. But you also want to look at this number, because this is what lets you know your buying intent. This is what lets you know you found a buyer's audience, people who actually want to purchase. All right, it means nothing if you put a post out there that gets 1,000 likes, 500 comments, and 70 shares, but not a single person clicks the link and goes to your website. All right, that is absolutely no good to you at all. So this is why this stat is so important, because your CPC link lets you know the buying intent, how interested your audience is in buying that product. All right, and basically it does that because it's the same thing as your CPE. It'll take the total amount, I already said that, right? The total amount of people that have clicked and divided into the amount of money spent, and you'll get what your CPC is. And then again, these are just numbers that you can use to let you know how to judge your success. All right. Good CPC, your benchmark should be 50 cents and under. That's great CPC. Let me correct myself. That's great CPC. Excellent CPC. All right. If you're at 50 cents and under, you're doing very well. In between the 50 to 90 cents range is still good. All right. And at the dollar range, is acceptable. But I like to be under that. Now, as a quick caveat to that, high margin products can have higher CPC. All right. So that should go without say, but I do want to add it in there that if you have a product that's got a $50 profit margin in it, it's a high ticket item, then that's different. All right. I'm generally talking about most commonly where people start out selling stuff is in like that $20, $30, $15 range. All right. So that's generally where you want to see your CPC for that, because anything above that, you're starting to get too expensive, because it's a progression, right? Your CPC does not necessarily mean they're buying. So there's going to be a portion of people that actually click that buy. So we're going to talk about your cost per purchase later, but that's a different subject, okay? So you want to be under $1 CPC by $5 ad spend, ideally, if you can be. That doesn't mean if you're not at it. That doesn't mean if you're not under $1 once you get to $5 ad spend that you should kill it if you're seeing great signs. But if you were at like $2 cost per click or $3 cost per click, basically what that means is not enough people are clicking. All right, that's what this is really telling you here. This is helping you monitor your ads early so that you realize, based on how low the number is, how many people are clicking. If not a lot of people are clicking, your cost per click is going to be very high. Generally means that you don't really have an audience interested in buying your item. And that can happen with a lot of things. They may think your item is cute, they may think it's funny, they may think it's adorable, but they may not be interested in buying it. All right, so that's why you want to look at both of these stats to really understand, number one, am I targeting correctly, and did I find the right audience for this? And then number two, is this a buyer's audience? Are they actually interested in purchasing? Are they making purchases? If you don't have a single link click by $2 to $3 spent, you should probably kill it. That's generally how I go. Now, yes, if you're wondering, well, the higher, the more you run it, can't your CPC drop over time? Yeah, it can, absolutely, which is why I'm saying don't necessarily kill it if you're at $5 and your CPC is $1. All right, but if you are at $5 and you don't have a single link click, or even at $2 to $3 is my range. If I don't have a single link click by $2 to $3, it's not going to drop much lower. Even if I start getting link clicks, it's still going to be high for me. And just in general, this shows that your audience is not really interested in buying, because if they were, they'd be clicking the link. All right. So that is kind of the theory of how we get started. All right. Now, I generally use these same guidelines for my website conversion ads as well, except that this is a much looser number. All right, I don't really look at the cost per engagement on my website conversion ads because it's not optimized for engagement, it's optimized for conversions. So, moving on into the next part, I'm going to try to wrap this video up soon because it looks like we'll probably have to get into targeting in a separate video. And where I can actually launch an ad, I think, is what we'll do. I'll launch an ad and show how the targeting goes with launching an ad, because targeting is a huge topic that I can spend at least an hour on, and it's a very important topic because we didn't even get into audience insights yet. So this is just kind of going over the theory of how everything works. All right. Now, you may be thinking, going back to where we were talking about, and we're going to talk about this in targeting again, is, how many people is good? If we're starting out super precise, how many people is good to start out with? Generally, my sweet spot is going to be in the 250 to 500,000 range. All right, for where I like to start with an initial audience testing. Okay. Some people may say you should be starting at around 500,000 to $1 million or whatever because they want to be able to scale right away. But I'm not as worried about scaling because I know that I can always scale into new ad sets and new audiences. All right. So remember, one of the biggest mistakes people make is targeting too broadly, which is why we use precise interest. And we're going to talk about the rest of this stuff when we get into targeting and we get into creating the ad. So that's why I target very small to start with, a precise audience. And you can make, believe me, you can make a lot of sales in an audience this size. So don't think that means you're not going to make a lot of sales, because you absolutely can. All right. So that's my initial audience testing size. And then you can split PPE ads down further. You can split website conversion ads down farther. This is going to come more into scaling, but I mention it here because it's part of testing your data. If you run an ad on a PPE ad, say, we run this ad here, we're targeting people 18 to 54, but we happen to notice that people 35 to 44 are really clicking a lot and buying. And that's stuff that, again, we'll look at when we look at monitoring your data. You can create a whole new ad set just targeting 35 to 44 within that same audience. All right. So you target 35 to 44, and you can see it's only a portion of that overall audience now. And maybe you even see that it's only women that are purchasing mostly. And so you make a new ad set targeting 35 to 44-year-old women, and that's a way of breaking down your ad based on the the performance that you see. It's also a way of scaling as well, which is why we'll talk about it more. You can see I mentioned some things here about location as well. I'm going to talk about that in targeting, so don't worry about that for now. And then we don't really need to talk about the last points here either, because I'm going to go over that when we get into actually running and testing an ad and, look at what the ads are. So I wanted this to be mainly focused on the theory of what we're doing and how we're starting out. All right, now one thing to mention here, so people may be wondering, well, say you run your PPE ad test for $10, you get some decent engagement, but no sales. So you decide it's time to move on. Does that mean you just kill the product? No, not necessarily. All right, a lot of these things may have multiple audience or ad sets, audiences that you can try. So, I could keep stacking I love my dog and build an ad set for that, but then maybe there's other things that have to do with dog, like, walk my dogs, taking my dog for a walk. That's just an example. These are both really small, but basically as a way to say that you could keep finding other ad set or other interests to try testing as well. I won't usually, if I have some decent reaction, but it's not great on the first test, I'll probably test again and see if maybe there's just a different way that I can test it. Maybe there's ways that I can tweak the ad set to make it more exactly, more honed in on the audience that it needs to be. So it doesn't necessarily mean you just move on from the product right away, but that's going to come down to a lot of how much you believe in that product as well. And if you think it's a good product and it has numbers proving that it's a successful product based on past sales that you've seen or evidence that you've seen on other sites that show it can be a winning product. And then also, sometimes if a PPE ad is getting great engagement but not the amount of sales that I want, I'll also launch that website conversion ad to test that as well, because again, a page post engagement is not optimized for conversion. So you can get sales and it's a great way to do all these things mentioned here, but that doesn't necessarily mean if it's getting great engagement on that but it's not pulling in the sales, well, I still may try the website conversion ad, because the website conversion ad is the real money maker. Not every PPE ad is going to pull in lots of sales. Some of them may just pull in a ton of great engagement for you and a few sales, and that's a good indication that you can try a website conversion ad now that you have some social proof on that and you see that it is working and it is targeted correctly. You can try that website conversion ad to see if that's going to start pulling in the sales because it's actually optimized for those conversion events, which is something I've done in the past, and it does work. So don't think that just because you may not be getting a lot of sales on a PPE ad that you can't move to a website conversion ad as well, because a PPE ad can still prove your product and give you that social proof. And if it's getting a lot of great engagement, then that may be a good indication that this is a good product for this audience, but it may just not be, the way Facebook's algorithm works can be tricky sometimes. It can be very subjective. So maybe for that product and that audience, the PPE ad just isn't pulling in the sales. And so you should launch that website conversion ad to start pulling in the sales. And then monitoring that data. So I think that's everything for this video. Again, remember guys, this builds on itself. I know that was a lot of information, especially for those of you who are brand new to all of this. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. But also remember that we're going to start tying it in the next videos with targeting. And then as well, we're going to launch an ad so that you can see launching an ad and see how it all comes together. And then where it really starts coming together is once you can start seeing those examples of ads that are running. So this is a process that builds on itself. There's going to be a few videos here on Facebook ads that are all going to work together very nicely. And by the time we're through it, you're going to be very fluent in what we're doing. You just got to remember that you have to go through all the content. There's a lot of content. It took me hours and hours and hours of testing and practice and thousands of dollars spent to get this knowledge and this information and this understanding. So don't think that just watching one video it's all going to make sense. You're going to have to watch a few videos and put it all together. But please, of course, feel free to ask any questions if you have them. Other than that, I will see you in the next video.